Just very much.
Stop blaming on
Okay, cool. So there's going to be a bit of work in this session. Sorry.
That's why everyone's running away.
We're going to rely on tapping some information and asking everybody in the room who's got an interest in this area to help us shape what this thing should look like, which Azisa and them are going to implement for us. And I'm going to allow Azisa to introduce herself and the team. You want me to do it?
That's fine.
Okay, cool. And then it's going to be a collective effort. So what CPF has done is it says in strategic direction 4 of the ecosystem profile, it says we want to create an enabling environment to build capacity and to bring everybody that's here together today together a lot more and to bring more people in. And to make sure that even when CPF leaves, there's a network of people talking and working together and sharing information and helping each other and all the nice stuff. So, since Azisa.
Okay, good afternoon everybody. I am employed in Sanby in the Fynbos program, and a large part of my work in the last few years has been around Cape Action for People and the Environment. And part of that was implementing pretty much what Wildlands has been doing here in the Maputo and Pondola and Albany hotspot for the Cape Floristic region, so managing a CPF investment. And Sandy has also been responsible for managing the investment in the Suckling Karoo in the past, and both of those investments have concluded. But when CPF developed the ecosystem profile for Maputo and Pondola and Albany, they wanted to draw on some of the lessons that they'd learned from work in Southern Africa from the CFR and Suckling Karoo. And so that's why we've got strategic direction 4 in this profile. My team, as Rolly's called them, but we're a set of colleagues working on this. And we have Tammy Smith. Well, I think you can introduce yourself, Tammy. Who's with our with Sanby in Pretoria. I don't think anybody can see you from there.
Oh, sorry. Tammy, hi.
Amy Ginsberg, who's been working with the Grasslands program as the Learning Network Manager.
Coordinator, yeah.
Yes, coordinator. Machlodi Tau, who's also with the Grasslands program, and he's the project officer. Is that right?
Yes, program officer.
Program officer.
It's very amazing.
And Kennedy was just joined us. He's been an intern for the last while, and he's just joined us as the Northern Bi-Regional Programs Learning Network Officer, and some of his job is going to be doing some of the Learning Network work for this project. Okay, so the project is developing civil society capacity to improve conservation and management of the MPAH. We've just signed the agreement at the beginning of October, so we're getting off the ground. As part of that, we've had to put a proposal into CPF, but always with a view that we'd use this platform to refine that proposal and finalize what this learning network would look like. So, strategic direction 4 out of the ecosystem profile. It's about creating an enabling environment to improve conservation and management, and it has 2 sub-strategies, which is around expanding and strengthening civil society, expanding and strengthening civil society by supporting training and further educational opportunities, mainly in Mozambique and Swaziland, and I don't think we have anybody here from either Mozambique or Swaziland.
Geraldo is here.
Okay, Geraldo. Hi, Geraldo. And then establish and strengthen institutional arrangements that will increase and coordinate civil society participation and facilitate lessons sharing to promote linkages. So that's what CPF was wanting to see. And the target is that 50 staff are trained from civil society organizations, and at least 1 civil society network is established. So that's what CPF would like to see at the end of the investment in 2015. And so a little bit of the rationale which I've provided already around taking the lessons from the CFR and from Sakin Peru. But just to build on that a little bit, it's about creating an enabling environment that provides opportunities for collaboration with other projects. And today has been a perfect opportunity for that, for people to talk to each other, to share what they're doing, to then take that into discussions offline and do with that what they want to, with a view to layering of investment and implementation. And thereby, so if we know what each other are doing, we're less likely to be doing the same thing in the same area, and more likely to be working together. So we have found that there's a reduced duplication of effort, which also helps with improving sustainability. The second rationale, it's around developing capacity, and then the third one is about bringing people together. So, our project, as it currently stands, the strategy for developing a learning network and capacity development for the MPAH, there's four main components to it. And the first one is around knowledge and lessons learned from project implementation is captured and disseminated. And the group of us from SANBI have been sitting here and taking notes from everyone's presentations today and saying, we want to follow up on this because this has been interesting work. This is, some ideas that we want to share more broadly and beyond just the people that have been in the room and make that information available. And the other part of that is writing short news articles that can then be shared around where projects are, around other information that's relevant to the hotspot. And it's not just about the projects, it's about everything else that's happening in the hotspot. It's about making sure that people can get connected into what's happening around them. The second one is around creating an enabling environment is created for the sharing of lessons between implementers. So the first one's about kind of broad writing down those lessons and documenting them and sharing them in a broad space. So this is more focused, and here we're looking at 3 hotspot partner forums being convened where civil society from across the region come together to share their lessons, like today. So this session of people coming, having 15 minutes to talk about the work that they're doing, being able to ask questions, being able to have facilitated discussions around certain topics of interest, and then taking that further on from there. Another aspect of these partner forums is to do things like the midterm review for CPF. So I'll come to that later on. The first one we're planning for April 2013, and to coincide with the midterm of the project. And there it's about reflecting on how the investment has gone, what the stumbling blocks have been, what the difficulties have been in implementing CPF projects in the project development cycle, in securing the funding from CPF and all the requirements that they ask for, that has grown since I've been involved previously. So it's about how do we improve the systems, how do we make that more effective, how do we support each other. Then providing opportunities for learning exchanges between civil society groups across the hotspot and with other regions. And here it's about, for example, the work that Matthew was talking about in his project, where taking groups from one area to another area to see what's happening there, and to be able to learn from each other. And then maybe coming back to and visiting the other partner and learning on the ground of what their challenges are and being able to support each other with the different bits of work that we're all involved in. And then, of course, developing an electronic network that showcases activities and news. Oh, and I missed the second point, sorry, which is around 2 regional thematic networking forums are supported and strengthened. And here we're talking about, for example, myself and Brent chatted yesterday about here in the Midlands that there's a group of projects that are all being implemented in the area, and what can be done to help strengthen them to work more effectively together. Or it could be a stewardship forum for the region that allows people from those involved in conservancy work, those involved in community stewardship work, and those involved in doing the the kind of formal stewardship work, how do we come together and we share our lessons, our difficulties, we learn from each other, we learn about what's new and what's coming up, and building a community of practice. That's really what it's about. And then the last one is about civil society capacity to undertake biodiversity conservation is strengthened. And here we're looking at providing 5 capacity development interventions across the 3-year period. And that's really our strategy as it currently is. And so and that's something to put on the table. And what we'd like to do now is we have 2 questions. And before I get into those 2 questions, that will help us to finalize the strategy. And when I say finalize, I'm talking about the broad parameters. So what do you in the group want to see as being? What do you see as a learning network? What do you see as creating an enabling environment? And CPF is quite flexible in being able to allow us to take what comes out of this group and change our project and amend it and to meet those requirements. So that's pretty much my presentation. And so the 2 questions I'm wanting to ask are, firstly, how do we create an enabling environment? And then secondly, how would you like to participate as a member of civil society? So let's just start with the first one. And I think Tammy's going to be taking down the points, and I'm going to take responses from the floor, and we'll stick it up somewhere to be able to give us a picture of what people's thoughts are. Okay, let's start with the first one. Okay, maybe before I start with that, are there any questions? Yes. Paul?
I really like what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it could be very useful for our project to be able to discuss